I was shocked when Labour became strongly in favour of growth.
Wealth creation is the #1 mission of a Labour government.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
It's true.
And I actually know you well enough to know you actually believe this. So when I look at this, I say to myself, how will you pull it off? In the time I've spent with this group in the last few days, there's plenty of money that's going to come into the country if you achieve what you just said. So when I listen to this, I think maybe instead of calling it regulation and investment, you should call it a lot of investment and very small amount of regulation. Or maybe you need a minister of anti-regulation. A more serious proposal is that democracies, especially something as long as old as this one, have so many ways in which people can say no. I'd much rather, and I think the business community would much rather have a single person who can say yes or no, and who says no, and then they can move on. The cost of capital and the delay is killing you, and furthermore, you're not going to achieve your 2030 energy goal, which is laudable, without fixing this. So you have a tactical leadership problem to achieve this, and I think you can pull it off. But you have to figure out a way to get control. You have a strong political capital right now. You just started. You're forming your government. You've got to find a way to get them to move on this agenda as opposed to just go like this. Yeah. That means I'm listening, not that I'm doing it.
No, I think this is a really big challenge. It has to be a cross-government priority, not just within the Treasury team. It's got to be across government. And one of the things we've done is to create mission delivery boards, which doesn't sound like a very interesting concept, but is vital. If you're going to do this, you've got to do it horizontally across all different departments at the same time.
And get those silos
So
out.
we are setting up some of the structures that will do this. But in the end, it's a mindset. It's a mindset of, does this promote growth or does it not promote growth, being the most important question we ask ourselves.
So can I come to the question of where we sit in the global context? One of the things I often hear is that people like investing in Britain because it can be a source of innovation for the world. We have a great track record of doing that. Another one is because we can be a hub and a bridge internationally. So it's not just about the domestic market. But in a post-Brexit world, how does that actually work? And again, what is the competitive offer for that international connectivity?
I think this is a really important point because I think the international reset, or the reset on the international stage, has to come alongside what we're doing on investment. Whichever way people campaigned and voted on Brexit, one of the consequences, to my mind, was that the impression was given that the UK was more interested in sort of turning in on itself, becoming more isolated, and less interested, frankly, in the outside world than we once were. We've always been a champion of the outside world, always been looked to for influence, a sort of pragmatic problem-solving country that very often was able to take a lead because of those key qualities. And that, as I say, this actually isn't an argument about which way we voted or not, but the impression became that there was a lot of chaos after Brexit because actually nobody quite knew where we were going next. And it looked as though we were sort of looking at ourselves. By resetting internationally, which is what I've spent a lot of capital on in the first 101 or 2 days, we can be clear again that we want to play the role we used to play on the international stage, confident, outward-looking, values-driven, abiding by agreements that we make, that matters, and we've got real attributes to go with it. Bridging to partners, whether in Europe or elsewhere across the world, which we can do, and that's why I've spent quite a lot of time trying to rebuild those particular relationships. But also clear that I won't go through everything in the speech that I had in terms of our language, our timelines, and the rule of law, which is hugely important to every investor. If people are going to invest in the UK, when they can invest in other countries, they need to know, as they do know with our legal system, that they can be confident that should there become a point of dispute, it will be resolved properly, quickly, and with the highest sort of calibre of judges or adjudicators. And all of that matters on the international scene.